Even if you come back as another curse, I'll kill you. Here's your look at the Threezero Jujutsu Kaisen Yuji Itadori. This FigZero 1/6 scale Yuji Itadori is approximately 11.3 inches tall and fully articulated collectible figure with over 32 points of articulation. The head is sculpted by renowned sculptor Ekanori Takaki, and materials used for this figure are mainly PVC and ABS. The character's costume include a hoodie Jujutsu high jacket, Jujutsu high slacks, and socks, which are all made of fabric. The figure comes with 2 interchangeable face parts, both neutral face and angry face, and 5 sets of interchangeable hands, including a left hand with Sukuna's mouth growing on the palm. Other accessories include 1 piece of Sukuna's finger, the Slaughter Demon and its sheath, a pair of sneakers, and 1 pair of divergent fist effect pieces. Here's hoping we're not going to bring any curses to our collectibles. Before we get a closer look at the Jujutsu Kaisen Yuji Itadori, I'd like to thank the folks first over at Threezero that did provide the sample we're about to have a look at. Starting things first in inches, we're going to measure right to the very top of Yuji's head. The figure, though, stands about, in this case, 11¼ inches in height, or Yuji stands about 28½ centimeters tall. While not coming included with a display stand, sadly no, Yuji Itadori, though, still managed to get quite a lot of accessories packaged along with him. The first that we'll look at, and smallest most likely to be lost, the figure comes included with Sukuna's finger. The finger, though, while it can't be held right now with the hands that I've got displayed with the figure, he does have at least the necessary hand for holding Sukuna's finger. It's this hand right here. Very carefully, though, you can take the finger and wedge it in between his own fingers, and he has the means to hold the finger that way. There is also going to be an included box that comes included with Megumi FigZero. So if you manage to get that figure down the road, you will also be able to use the box that comes included with that figure as well. Nicely detailed, but again, small in size. We're going to be very likely to be losing this if we're not too careful. Putting that, though, to the side. Another thing we'll get out of the way first is also Yuji comes included with a pair of swapped out wrist pegs, just in case you happen to lose or break any of the ones that come included with the figure's forearms right now. Move those also to the side. We've already looked at the fact that Yuji comes included with this hand for holding Sukuna's finger, so I guess we can quickly look through that again. But the figure also comes included with, again, a couple of grabbing hands, claw hands, so to speak. Nicely sculpted overall. Doesn't really look like there's a whole lot of paint happening here, not in the fingernails or anything in the quicks, but at least the figure does have some really nice sculpted claw hands. Move those to the side. The figure also comes included with a gripping hand specifically for holding Slaughter Demon, which we'll look at in a second. By the way, the plastic on all of the hands seems fairly soft and easy to manage. So if you're having a tough time, for example, for Yuji to hold the Slaughter Demon, the hands don't even require even heating with hot water or a hairdryer. In fact, while we're at the topic of that, looking at the Slaughter Demon, I guess one last thing we'll look at as well. The figure, while we're still on the topic of hands, I didn't want to get too far away from the hands. The figure also comes included with the hand that has Sukuna's mouth. A really nice touch. Not only did they paint that, but they also sculpted the individual teeth. And of course, I don't know if you can actually see that or not, but the tongue is sticking out from the palm of Yuji. Really cool touch. Likely going to be displaying the figure, I think, that with one hand, with this hand, and then the other hand, as I was about to say before I kind of cut myself off, the other hand is going to be holding Slaughter Demon. Slaughter Demon, as you can see, is really nicely forged here, and while it doesn't actually have a blade that's going to draw any blood on this person's part, it is nicely sculpted here in sort of a gunmetal gray. The wrappings handled here in a more dirtier kind of off-white color, and you've got some additional black by the guard. It's a really nice looking sword. I don't know if you would consider it more a sword or a small dagger. I guess I would consider it like a small blade sword. The figure also comes included with a sheath to hold Slaughter Demon. It's actually made of plastic. Looking at it initially, I thought it may have been made of fabric, but it is actually made of a hard plastic. It does sheath Slaughter Demon quite easily, in fact, and located here on the back, there's actually these little looplets, because the figure of Yuji also comes included with the belt. The belt, I'll show you in a second, isn't the easiest thing to do. In fact, you actually have to take the Jujutsu shirt, and you have to lift that up a little bit before you can actually loop this through the belt portions of his belt. I'm going to get more into that in a moment. Then the figure also finally comes included with the divergent fist effect pieces, which again, nicely handled here in a more translucent blue plastic. These can't fit over his existing fist hands that I've got him displayed with right now, but when you are putting him onto his fists, just going to go ahead and bend his arm for right now, you guys can see it a little bit easier. Instead of actually putting it on this way, what you want to sort of do is take the fists and wedge them in there. Now, the hands themselves don't completely get encompassed by the divergent effects. You're sort of just sandwiching it or using kind of the friction to force that onto the tops of the hands. And he actually is displayed that way. And simply then just rinse and repeat that to have it on the other side as well. Really nice effects, the fact that they would take the time to include that. You really, though, have to take the time and really wedge the hands on there. And when doing it again, you can't put the whole thing, you can't encase the whole thing in the actual effects. You're more or less just sitting it on the hand instead. But back to Yuji's belt, though. The belt itself looks to be made of kind of a faux leather material. Of course, you've actually got yourself a real buckle there on the front that actually does have the adjustable portion that then will wrap around and meet up in the middle or meet with the holes on the other side of the belt. Here's the thing about it, though. In order to do that, you're going to have to take the figure of Yuji, just move his arms out of the way, and then we're going to take the Jujutsu high jacket, and you have to hike it up high enough so you can actually gain access to the loops that are located here for the front. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take the loop of the belt, or going to take the end of the belt, I should say, and you're going to loop it through the portions of the pants. Loop it all the way around, and then when you get to the other side, again, you're going to loop it through these back loops. And once you've got this part of the strap fitted through, then you can take yourself the sheath. We're going to just draw out from this the Slaughter Demon. We're not going to put it in just yet. And then from there, you're just going to take then the other part of the sheath, slide it through. This would be so much easier, of course, not doing this in front of a camera, but then you're just going to loop this straight through. You're going to loop it then on the other side, and then you're going to meet it in the middle, and then, of course, you're going to fasten up the belt in the front. The only downside to that is that the jacket will be fitting over top of this. So on the back, maybe not as much from the front, but then when you see it from the back, you're going to notice, though, where the Jujutsu jacket is sort of kind of lifted up. You're going to see a lot more wrinkling happen on the back of it, just so he can actually house the sheath in order to store Slaughter Demon when he's not actually using it. Finished strapping the belt in, but I did want to show you what it looks like here from the front. Maybe from the front, it's a little cleaner than it is from the back. You can kind of see where it bunches up around the sides, because obviously when you turn around from the front or turn around to the back, you can then see where the sheath of Yuji sits. Then from there, you can, of course, take yourself Slaughter Demon once again and just slide it, holster it to the back of the body. I mean, there's really no way around it, because obviously for the longer jacket being over the part of the belt, by the way, there's the belt right there. I've looped in successfully. Maybe just bring it over just a little bit. But yeah, there really isn't going to be giving you the cleanest looking look from the front. I mean, you can kind of fix it up from the sides, but sort of going to develop the wrinkles on either side of the body. We're just going to draw the sword for right now, at least. Put that to the side. The one other thing I did also certainly want to show you guys when it comes to Itadori, the figure also comes included with a swappable head sculpt. For me, at least, I prefer this head sculpt over the one that we get defaulted when we get him out of the box. Just to like the fact that this one is a lot more of an angrier expression, gives them also a chance to really shine when it comes to panel lining that they incorporate not only to the larger eyebrows, but then also lines that he's got on the sides of his face and also just above his nose as well. To change out the head is actually a lot easier than I expected it to be. First, what you'll want to do is grab the top of the hair of Yuji here, and you're just going to want to, there's a little line right here. Actually, it's a lot harder to see it from the front. It's a little easier to see it from the side. Just kind of take this, and you want to just pull this off. What it is, it's attached by 2 pegs, and then there it follows up then to the 2 holes on the back of it. Then do the exact same thing then on the back side. Just want to pull that off. And then from there, pull down just enough of the hood that you can gain access to Yuji's face, and you want to just wiggle it forward and remove it completely from the post. Seems a little off-settling when you certainly see it without the head. But then from there, you're going to go ahead and take your angry expression Yuji, and then just again, like line the holes up there. So you've got a fairly large square peg socket to work with, and that's going to fit over top or fit against that. Plug that in place. And then again, you're just going to go back to bringing back the back of the hair. That's going to plug in. It's a lot harder to do it when you're putting it back in place, just because the spiky nature of his hair is going to be, well, leaving its impression. Plug that in place, and then from there, you're going to take the rest of the hair and line everything up, fit in place that way. One last time, just obviously to bring back where we left things off, the neutral expression head sculpt, while being fine and looks fantastic, I got to say, like, I like the angry expression a lot more on Yuji's face. Put that to the side. Getting, though, a closer look now at Yuji. One thing, not only do I like the head sculpt, not only do I like the way they've actually sculpted and painted it, the hair is also handled really nicely, kind of a more of a off pink color, kind of a purplish pink. It's sculpted really well also. But one thing I really want to commend Threezero for doing is also the way they've tailored the outfit. The jacket itself, he's got Jujutsu high jacket and the Jujutsu high slacks. The material that they've used, as I can best describe it, it kind of feels a little bit like parachute material. fairly like more of a nylon material. That now, while he does have what looks almost to be like a front section that folds over, you can't actually detach this. I thought perhaps initially that this may have been Velcro, that you'd be able to open this up. Make things a little easier, obviously, when it gets to getting to Yuji's belt, but not the case at all. So don't pull this because it's simply just sewn in place. He does have, again, like the back hood here that's handled in not the same material as the jacket. In fact, actually, this material feels more like a fleece material. It's fairly thick, and I suppose also as well, because it's long enough, they've allowed it for enough slack that you can actually fit this over top of Yuji's head. There also seems to be a wire frame that they've built around this as well, so you can sculpt this or design this exactly the way you want it when you've got it on display. I like that. I prefer myself to actually have the hood further back because I really wouldn't want to actually mask any of the sculpting that Threezero put into this piece. But overall, again, I really like the tailoring for the outfit. The quality of material is really quite there as well. Again, it's kind of very similar to like a nylon parachute material. He does also have sleeves, so I would imagine that they probably would have put in a full hooded jacket underneath this. Nonetheless, I mean, it can't obviously bring it too far back. You can see like there's the sleeve underneath it, but maybe what they've ended up ultimately doing is having the sleeve sort of stopping there and then just putting the jacket over top of it. As already mentioned, he does have, again, like the Jujutsu high slacks, which obviously, namesake aside, I mean, obviously it's not going to go all the way down to the bottoms, but it gives at least a chance so you guys can see the way they've sculpted the socks. The socks also are quite high. They seem to be the case also that they've glued them in place. So if you're worried that the socks will start to droop over time, it looks like they probably have attached these. I don't know if you can actually see it right there. There's like a square peg almost that they put in place. My guess is they probably put a little bit of glue right there to prevent the sock from sliding down. And of course, then he does have his footwear. The footwear really nicely sculpted. Again, the coloring on this is kind of more of a brownish, I would say like a brownish burgundy, for example, and they sculpted laces rather nicely in there as well. Just overall, the one thing, again, the takeaway from this, not only is the head sculpt of Itadori really, really good, but I think as well, like the costume they did really top notch. For the articulation on Yuji Itadori, let's start once again with his head sculpt. It's a little kind of harder to gauge just how much articulation this guy does have, simply just because he's got so much jacket and he's got so much the additional hooding over top of it. But actually, when it comes to the articulation, I was really surprised to see he had as much as he did. Not only does he have what you would expect to be traditional articulation that attaches this part of the head to the rest of the neck, but then Yuji also seems to have a secondary ball joint at the base of the neck. So you can really move it quite a lot. Not only down, up, but also back and forth as well. You can rotate it, but while you are rotating, a lot of times what you'll end up doing is feel like you're going to be detaching the front of the hair without being too careful. Obviously, it's very easy to remove the front hair piece. And of course, putting it back in place, you're only going to be feeling it while you're doing it. The upper torso on Yuji is also on a ball joint. The thing about it, though, is obviously once you start putting things in like the sheath, it's probably not best advised to start really moving his torso around in case it starts to clip the sheath and it ends up just breaking off the back of the belt. So just be a little bit careful while you're doing it. But it seems like he does have a ball joint at the base of at the base of the abdomen area at least. So you can move it up, you can move it down actually by that far, and you can also rock it back and forth as well. Yuji's arms seem to quite comfortably move out at 90 degrees. He does have it doesn't seem to have like a padding here, but he has a lot of excess material at the tops of his shoulders. So while you obviously are moving his arms up, it's not going to draw the jacket up, but it's also going to make a little bit more excess material here at the top as well. Obviously, you're going to be able to move his arms forward. You can move his arms back as well. There seems to be a swivel at the top of the bicep, double hinge on the elbow, which is nice to see. And the hands, whatever hands you end up displaying this guy with, rotate all the way around, and you can also hinge them back and forth as well. As for the legs do split out. Again, a little bit more on the limited side when you start to add the sheath on the back of the figure's body. I might actually be inclined to just leave the sheath off when it comes to displaying this guy. But the legs do move forward. You can easily move the legs back. There's a swivel at the top of the thigh, of course. The figure does possess a double hinge on the knee, so you can get this guy in a lot of cool, crazy poses. And he does have some really decent articulation, more than I was really expecting when it comes to the ankles. I mean, look how far back the ankle can pivot, and also this way as well. You can move it up, you can move it down, and you could technically rotate it all the way around as well. All in all, just a great looking figure. There's a lot of options also available as well when it comes to displaying this guy, whether you decide to display this guy with Slaughter Demon, whether you decide you want to display him with the Divergent Fist Effect pieces, or if you, hopefully, fingers crossed, that you don't actually lose the finger of it, you can also display him with Sukuna's finger. A lot of cool stuff come included. Again, great looking figure of Yuji Itadori from the folks over at Threezero. So if you guys are fans of Jujutsu Kaisen and would like to get your hands on Yuji Itadori for yourself, good news is this guy is in stock right now through various online sites. And the price point, as goes without saying, Threezero usually always undercuts what the costs are when it comes to selling these pieces. He's going for about $150, which again, I think is a great price considering how well the figure turned out, how good tailored the outfit ends up being on the figure, and the fact he comes with as many accessories as he does, including as well on the back their Slaughter Demon, which I guess is one thing that I wish was done a little bit better on the figure. Not the fact that he doesn't have the means to holster Slaughter Demon on the back of his body, but by the means of how you're actually having to do it. Looping through the belt is fine and good, but with the jacket being as long as it is, it sort of ends up bunching the jacket up not only from the front, but more obviously here from the back as well. The figure also does have a very dividing line where you can see the front of his hairline as the part that's obviously going to be removed when you swap out the face. I've tried to push it in a little bit more, but it seems that every single time I'm moving the head a little bit, it seems to want to just start separating itself. So I have to push that in a little bit more, of course, leaving some impressions behind on my skin. Other than that, though, a great looking figure, though. What do you guys think of Yuji Itadori, and is this a figure you could see yourselves picking up? Once again, a big thank you to the folks over at Threezero that did provide the samples of the Jujutsu Kaisen Yuji Itadori that we could have a look at this review. Speaking of reviews, if you guys enjoyed the one you just finished watching, why not hit with a like? If you guys are loving the content you guys are seeing and certainly on board to see more, we are, by the way, going to be looking at more Jujutsu Kaisen figures. So if that's the kind of thing you guys are interested in, make sure you're coming back to this channel on a regular basis. But make sure as well you're hitting that subscribe button down below and making sure as well you're turning on the bell notification, get those reminders every single time a new video posts. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.